Hello there, traveler of the quiet hours. Tonight, we drift not into dreams of clouds or stars, but into something far older. The living memory of the Earth itself. Take a slow breath. Feel the weight of your body soften against the ground beneath you. That ground has been here for billions of years, reshaping itself in silence, holding the stories of fire, water, and time. Before there were names for constellations or borders for seas, this planet was already alive, folding, melting, breathing. Mountains rose and fell like the rhythm of an ancient heartbeat. Oceans appeared, disappeared, then returned again. Every pebble beneath your feet once glowed with molten light. Every grain of sand has been part of something vast and magnificent. Geology is not just the study of rocks. It is the language of memory, the way the Earth whispers its past to those who listen. As we begin this journey, let your thoughts grow still. Imagine the planet turning slowly beneath you, ancient and patient. Tonight, you do not have to move or seek. You only have to listen to the quiet pulse of stone, to the calm endurance of a world that never stops changing. Beneath your resting body lies a miracle so thin it could vanish in scale. If Earth were the size of an apple, the crust, the world of forests, oceans, and cities would be no thicker than its skin. And yet, on that fragile shell, everything we have ever loved, built, or dreamed has unfolded. Beneath it, the mantle glows, a vast realm of stone that moves like breath. It is not molten chaos, but a slow, deliberate tide of heat and minerals, rising and sinking in eternal rhythm. Imagine that, an ocean of rock flowing so slowly it feels still to us. But over ages beyond counting, it carries the continents themselves, those immense floating islands we call home. They drift like rafts on a glowing sea, moved by invisible convection currents that never rest. What appears solid is only a pause in movement. The ground beneath you, even now, is gliding through space on a plate of stone 100 kilometers thick, carried forward by the quiet fire of the planet's heart. If you could see time sped up, millions of years unfolding in seconds, you'd watch mountain ranges breathe like sleeping giants, rising, collapsing as the crust folds and bends. You'd see oceans opening, continents colliding, valleys crushed and born again. The Earth is a living body, and its crust is skin in motion. Beneath that skin, granite once flowed like molten honey. Before it cooled into the rugged cliffs of Yosemite or the weathered peaks of the Scottish Highlands, it was alive with heat. Slow rivers of magma drifting in chambers deep below. Over countless centuries, those rivers cooled and crystallized into stone. Their bright minerals, quartz, feldspar, mica, locking together like a frozen dance. When you touch a piece of granite, you are touching the memory of that dance, the cooling of fire into permanence. Granite is the patience of the planet made visible. Its surface tells a story of transformation, of liquid light becoming solid strength. It has watched continents drift, glaciers grind, and rivers carve through its face. Yet, within every crystal glimmers a trace of its birth, a whisper of the time when the Earth itself ran with fire. And then, in another deep chamber of pressure and darkness, something even stranger happens. Carbon, the same element that builds your breath, your bones, your voice, is transformed into diamond. Most take billions of years to form, as atoms rearrange under unimaginable weight. But sometimes, when the balance is perfect, the transformation happens in an instant. A geological heartbeat, turning the simplest matter into the hardest substance known. Every diamond is a paradox. Chaos turned to order, darkness turned to light. It rises from the deep mantle through volcanic veins called kimberlites, carrying the story of its creation upward. By the time it reaches sunlight, it has crossed a journey longer than life itself. To hold one is to hold a piece of time. An ember of the Earth's own pressure, turned pure. Above these hidden furnaces, mountains rise as if remembering their fiery origin. They seem eternal. They are alive with motion. In the silent collision of tectonic plates, rock is pushed upward, inch by inch. The Himalayas, the Andes, are slamming higher each year, faster than your fingernails grow. And while wind and rain wear them down, the deep earth continues to lift them back toward the sky. Creation and erosion dance together in perfect balance. One building, one unbuilding, both endless. If you could sit and watch a mountain for 1,000,000 years, you'd see it pulse. You'd see it breathe, its slopes rising, falling, folding, exhaling dust into valleys that once were seas. The peaks we call ancient are, in truth, newborn compared to the age of the stones that formed them. Each one is a brief exhale in the planet's long rhythm. Even the continents themselves wander. They drift a few centimeters each year, yet over time their journeys redraw the face of the planet. Africa edges north, pushing into Europe. Australia glides toward Asia. The Atlantic widens as the Pacific slowly closes. To human eyes, these movements are invisible. But on the scale of eons, they are waves of stone sweeping across a molten sea. Once, all the land we know was joined in one immense supercontinent, Pangaea, a single mass surrounded by an endless ocean. Then, as heat gathered beneath, the crust began to tear apart. Oceans opened where mountains had stood. The continents slid away from each other like slow drifting clouds. And one day, far in the future, they will gather again, reunited by the same invisible forces that once pulled them apart. Earth's story is cyclical. It does not begin or end. It folds upon itself. Where plates meet and press together, mountains are born. Where they drift apart, new ocean floor emerges as magma wells upward to cool. And where one plate dives beneath another, it melts again into the mantle, ready to rise elsewhere as new stone. Nothing on this planet is wasted. Nothing is permanent. The Earth recycles itself with a grace that no machine could match, its motion powered by the steady decay of ancient heat. Its rhythm measured not in seconds or years, but in epoch. This is not destruction, it is renewal. Every rock, every cliff, every mountain ridge is part of an unbroken cycle of transformation. To understand this is to glimpse the deep intelligence of nature. The wisdom of slowness. The earth does not hurry. It does not force. It simply becomes. Pressure, heat, gravity, time, Each one a note in a symphony that has been playing since the first spark of creation. You too are made of this same rhythm. The iron in your blood once burned in ancient stars. The calcium in your bones was pulled from ancient seas. The carbon in your breath has been through forests, volcanoes, and oceans countless times before becoming you. You are not separate from the geology you walk upon. You are one more phase of its evolution, one more expression of its endless transformation. As the continents move, so do we. Slowly, invisibly, carried by forces beyond our sight, reshaped by pressures we do not always understand. The world beneath us drifts in silence, yet it never loses its balance. In its patience, it teaches us something sacred. That change need not be violent, and movement need not be rushed. Even the hardest stone finds harmony and surrender. So, the next time you touch the earth, when you stand barefoot on cool soil or rest your hand upon a rock, remember what lies beneath. A world in motion, a story billions of years old, still unfolding quietly beneath your feet. The crust you stand on is no more permanent than a breath, yet it carries the wisdom of eternity. Let that thought settle within you like sediment in still water. Let it remind you that your own life too moves in cycles, birth and decay, pressure and release, silence and creation. Beneath every ending is the promise of renewal. Beneath every stillness, a hidden current of life continues to flow. The earth is not just the ground beneath us. It is the teacher of balance, of patience, of resilience. It is the body of transformation itself. Soft at its core, strong at its edges, infinitely forgiving. And so, as you breathe now, imagine the mantle breathing with you. Imagine continents gliding on a sea of glowing stone, mountains lifting their faces toward the stars, rivers carving their paths through time. Imagine yourself as part of it all, tiny, transient, yet completely connected. This is geology as meditation, the art of listening to stone, the science of stillness in motion, the knowing that everything solid, even your own heart, is shaped by the same quiet forces that move the continents. When you next look upon a mountain or hold a small, smooth stone in your palm, remember, you are holding a memory of fire that chose to cool, a story of chaos that learned to rest. And perhaps in that knowing, find your own calm, the understanding that even pressure can create beauty. Even change can bring peace, and even the heaviest things in life are capable of moving gracefully. One breath, one heartbeat, one quiet tectonic inch at a time. Beneath the calm surface of the earth, there are places where silence trembles. Deep chambers of molten rock, magma, rest like hearts of living mountains, pulsing slowly in the dark. For centuries they lie in wait, gathering pressure, heat, and memory. Then, in one astonishing instant, that buried fire finds its voice. When a volcano awakens, it is not anger, it is release. It is the planet exhaling what it can no longer hold. Through vents and fissures, magma surges upward, shedding its heavy cloak of pressure, expanding into light, color, and sound. Some eruptions are violent, shattering the sky with thunder, lightning, and ash that travels halfway across the world. lavas are slow and steady, spilling glowing rivers that crawl over land for hundreds of years, reshaping continents grain by grain. The Deccan traps in India were born from such patient fury. For millions of years, lava poured across the land, one layer upon another, until it covered an area larger than Europe. What looks now like black basalt cliffs was once a flowing ocean of fire, breathing light into the night. That ancient eruption changed the climate, sculpted the landscape, and whispered its influence into the story of life itself. Each volcano is unique. A signature of the planet's inner mood. Some rise tall and symmetrical, like Japan's Fuji, their slopes smooth and quiet until the moment of awakening. Others sprawl wide and low, their magma so fluid it pours rather than explodes. These shield volcanoes, like those in Hawaii, release their heat in endless streams of glowing basalt. Painting the earth in slow motion. Basalt itself is the most common rock on our planet's surface. It forms the deep floors of the oceans, the invisible foundation beneath every wave. Dense, dark, and heavy with iron and magnesium, it is the Earth's original song, the music of molten stone. Cooling into permanence, touch a piece of basalt, and you are holding the cooled blood of the planet's heart. Sometimes this lava meets the sea, and the meeting is both violent and tender. The ocean hisses. Steam rises, and in an instant, fire becomes form. The lava cools so rapidly that it rounds into smooth, bulbous shapes. Pillow lava. Each pillow, a frozen ripple of molten flow. Entire underwater mountains are built from these soft, rounded forms, hidden beneath miles of salt water, glowing faintly in the darkness like forgotten stars. And then there is obsidian, the glass of the Earth's fire. When lava cools in an instant, faster than crystals can form, it turns to pure black glass, sharp as a blade, smooth as silence. Ancient humans shaped it into tools and mirrors, fascinated by how something born of chaos could reflect the world so perfectly. Obsidian is frozen lightning, the moment when heat surrenders to stillness so suddenly that beauty takes over. All these rocks, basalt, pillow lava, obsidian, are more than minerals. They are stages of transformation. They are the language through which fire learns to rest. The crust of our planet is built upon these cooled tempers, each layer a record of the Earth's emotional history. Eruption, relief, renewal. If you listen closely, you can almost hear that history. In some volcanic stones, there are bubbles trapped within tiny, delicate spheres of ancient air. These are the fossilized breaths of the atmosphere that once was, sealed in glass and crystal. Inside those bubbles, scientists have found traces of gases that tell the story of the planet's early sky. How much oxygen filled it? How much carbon shaped its warmth? Each bubble is a time capsule of air, older than life itself. Think of that for a moment. Within a stone you could hold in your hand lies a breath exhaled by the young Earth. The first whispers of oxygen that would one day nourish forests, oceans, and you. That is the quiet miracle of geology, the way the planet remembers even its own breathing. But beneath this poetry lies a power that humbles imagination. The magma chambers that feed volcanoes stretch vast and deep, some the size of entire continents. Some. Their molten rock moves like honey, but hotter than any furnace, driven by the decay of ancient radioactive elements and the slow compression of gravity. It is this energy that keeps our world alive. Without it, the Earth would be cold, inert, and silent. A stone drifting through space. Volcanoes are not destroyers. They are midwives. Through their fiery mouths, the Earth gives birth to new land. Islands rise from the sea. Mountain chains unfold from plains. And nutrients, once locked in rock, are released to feed life. The soil around volcanoes, rich in ash and minerals, becomes some of the most fertile ground on Earth. From devastation grows abundance. Rice fields in Java, vineyards in Italy, lush valleys in the shadow of Vesuvius. Even the air carries the gifts of fire. Volcanic gases, once feared, are also creators. Carbon dioxide and water vapor, released in ancient eruptions, helped form the atmosphere that wrapped the young Earth. The same steam that now rises from fumaroles once became clouds, rain, and oceans. The cycle of life began with the breath of volcanoes. And yet, within this creative fire lies fragility. The balance between pressure and release is delicate. When trapped for too long, magma becomes restless. It searches for cracks, for weaknesses, for ways to exhale. In that sense, volcanoes are not unlike us. When we bury heat, our fears, our grief, our passions, they too build pressure. When the release finally comes, it can be destructive or cleansing, depending on how gently we allow it to flow. Perhaps that is why the Earth's volcanoes feel strangely human. They rumble with emotion. They hold tension, then surrender it. They destroy, but only to make space for new beginnings. In their cycles of eruption and calm, they remind us that fire too can be a healer. Stand before a volcano, and you feel it immediately. That mix of awe and intimacy. The ground hums faintly. The air smells of minerals and heat. You sense that beneath your feet, something ancient is stirring, something patient and alive. It does not hate. It does not rage. It simply moves, as it has always moved, carrying the deep wisdom of transformation. Some of the planet's oldest stories are written in volcanic stone. Basalt plains tell of ages when continents split apart. Obsidian cliffs recall the sudden freeze of molten light. Even the gases trapped in tiny vesicles carry whispers of the Earth's first breath. To walk among them is to read the diary of the planet's soul, each page etched in heat, cooled by time. Volcanoes, in their mystery, also connect us to the cosmos. The same processes that forge lava here operate on other worlds. Mars bears scars of ancient eruptions. Venus still shudders with internal heat. Even the icy moons of Jupiter hide oceans, warmed by volcanic energy beneath their frozen shells. Across the solar system, fire is the universal signature of life's possibility, the pulse of creation, echoing through stone. So when you think of the Earth's fire, think not of destruction, but of heartbeat. Each eruption is a renewal, each cooling flow, a breath, returning to stillness. Beneath your feet, in the unseen depths, magma continues its slow circulation, rising, cooling, sinking again. Is the eternal meditation of the planet, a cycle of pressure and release, of heat and rest, of creation and return. And as you sit here, breathing softly, remember, the warmth inside you, the steady rhythm of your own heart, comes from the same cosmic fire. The atoms that keep you alive were once part of stars that burned, collapsed, and scattered their light into the dust that formed this world. You are, in the most literal sense, volcanic. Fire contained in flesh, light shaped into consciousness. When you understand that, the world becomes quieter. Volcanoes no longer seem violent. They seem compassionate. Each eruption is a reminder that even the deepest fire seeks balance, that letting go, even in bursts of flame, is part of staying alive. So let the sound of this truth settle over you like warm ash. Beneath the calm soil, the heart of the planet still beats. Its pulse is slow, immense, and kind. And through that pulse, all life, including yours, is kept warm. After the roar of volcanoes fades and their rivers of fire turn to stone, the Earth's heartbeat continues. Deeper, slower, beneath the oceans. There, far from sunlight, lies a world of creation that few have ever seen. Along the dark seams of the planet, the crust splits open, and molten rock rises gently from below. These fractures stretch for more than 60,000 kilometers, winding through every ocean basin, a hidden mountain range greater than any on land. Here, the Earth breathes in rhythm. As magma wells upward, it cools into black basalt, forming new ocean floor. The planet's skin is constantly renewing itself. The quiet cycle of birth and return. Each inch of seabed that slides away from the ridge carries the memory of fire within it, moving slowly outward until it finally sinks again into the mantle and melts back into origin. Nothing is wasted. Even the deepest darkness participates in the circle of creation. Near those glowing cracks, something miraculous happens. From vents in the seafloor gush clouds of superheated water, rich with metals and minerals. So hot they could melt steel, yet somehow they give rise to life. These hydrothermal vents, called black smokers, release their breath into the cold abyss, forming towers of minerals that shimmer in the darkness, like cathedrals made of smoke and stone. And there, in that pressure, no human could survive. Life blooms. Tiny organisms that eat not sunlight, but sulfur. They thrive without a single ray of the sun, drawing energy from the planet's inner fire. Scientists believe this may be where life first began, billions of years ago, in the hidden warmth of the Earth's breath, where rock and water met in perfect balance. It is a humbling thought that while storms rage above, the planet below is building new ground in silence. Each pulse of magma, each bubble of mineral-rich water is an act of quiet creation. The continents drift, The seas widen, and through it all, the earth keeps its steady rhythm. If you listen with your imagination, you might feel it. The slow movement of stone beneath the waves, the faint murmur of the ocean floor, growing and sinking, endlessly peacefully. The earth is not only a place of eruptions and earthquakes, it is a being of deep patience. Its heart beats under miles of water, unseen yet constant, turning pressure into possibility. And perhaps, somewhere within you, that same process unfolds. Beneath the calm surface of your own life, hidden under layers of silence and time, new strength is forming, quietly, steadily, beautifully. The deep earth reminds us that creation does not always announce itself with fire. Sometimes it simply flows in darkness, shaping the world one invisible breath at a time. Beneath the shimmering surface of the sea lies a world that dwarfs imagination. A landscape of mountains and valleys so vast, it makes the Himalayas seem small. The mid-ocean ridges, stretching more than 10,000 kilometers across the planet, are taller than Everest when measured from their base. Yet they rise unseen, cloaked by miles of salt water and silence. These submerged giants never sleep. Along their crests, the earth continues to open, exhaling heat and new stone into the deep. It is a continuous birth, the ocean floor renewing itself while no human eye can witness it. To the creatures of the deep, these mountains are not monuments but homes. Ridges glowing faintly with mineral light, valleys rich with currents that feed the smallest forms of life. And then, far away in the western Pacific, there is a place where the planet bends inward. 11 kilometers deep. If Mount Everest were placed there, its summit would still be hidden beneath the waves. Down in that darkness, the pressure is so immense, it would crush steel. Yet even there, life persists, delicate and luminous, drifting like thoughts in a dream. Creatures glow with their own inner light, small miracles that prove even under the weight of the world, existence finds a way to shine. The Mariana is not a void. It is a returning point. There, the heavy ocean crust sinks back into the mantle, melting and being reborn. The same force that lifts mountains on one side of the earth pulls the seafloor down on the other. This is the balance that keeps the planet alive, constant recycling, constant renewal. What dies in one place becomes new in another. Sometimes, the deep earth whispers its movement through tremors too small to feel. Thousands of these microquakes ripple through the crust every day, tiny signatures of adjustment and flow. Each one is a heartbeat of the planet, part of a pulse that has never stopped since the beginning. When seismologists map them, the Earth reveals itself as a living being, humming softly beneath its thin skin of oceans and air. From those deep murmurs rise moments of sudden motion. The great earthquakes that remind us how alive this world truly is. In a single instant, land can shift, rivers can reverse, coastlines can change. During one great quake, the mighty Mississippi River once flowed backward, if only for a few seconds, as the crust flexed beneath it. It is humbling to think how fluid the solid world can be when the planet breathes. Not all movement is violent, though. In some places, faults slide past each other slowly, continuously. A gentle fault creep that releases tension without a tremor. Even here, the Earth teaches balance. There are many ways to release pressure. Some sudden and fierce, others patient and soft. Deep beneath these restless surfaces lies the source of all this energy. The core. At more than 9,000 degrees Fahrenheit, it burns hotter than the surface of the sun. This inner fire is the planet's heart, powered by the slow decay of ancient elements and the leftover heat from Earth's creation. Though we cannot see it, we feel its gift every day. That heat drives the motion of continents, the churning of magma, the rise of mountains. There's an invisible dynamo that creates our magnetic field, a shield that deflects cosmic radiation and makes life possible. Without that field, our atmosphere would be stripped away. Our oceans would boil into space. Every compass needle that points north is following the pulse of molten iron spinning thousands of miles below your feet. To meditate on this is to understand that safety and chaos are born from the same source. The same heat that drives volcanoes and quakes also keeps our planet warm enough to breathe. The same motion that cracks stone also nourishes the soil. What feels destructive is often only transformation in a faster rhythm. So breathe with the planet for a moment. Imagine that every inhale mirrors the deep intake of the ocean trenches, and every exhale, the slow rise of molten rock beneath the ridges. The Earth is not fragile. It is graceful. Even its tremors are a kind of dance, the motion of a being too vast to ever be still. In your own life, there are quakes too. Moments when the ground of your certainty shifts, when what you thought was solid begins to move. Remember then, the lesson of the planet. Movement is not collapse, it is renewal. Rivers may reverse, but they still flow. Pressure may build, but it always finds a way to release. Beneath the surface noise of every day, the Earth hums softly, endlessly creating and reshaping itself. Its mountains rise unseen below the sea. Its heartbeat vibrates through stone. Its fire burns quietly in the dark. And in that same rhythm, your own life unfolds. Steady, imperfect, and deeply, beautifully alive. Beneath the crust we walk upon, there is another world. Hidden, silent, and unimaginably vast. A world where rock bends like wax, where light has never entered, and where time moves differently. It is a place of miracles so deep, they are almost impossible to imagine. Far below the surface, in the mantle, the thick layer of stone between the crust and the core, there exists an ocean. Not of liquid water as we know it, but of molecules trapped within minerals, bonded so tightly that they shimmer only as memory. This secret sea may hold more water than all the surface oceans combined. It is strange to think of it, a sea inside the Earth. Invisible, hidden within crystal lattices. Yet scientists have found evidence of it. Droplets locked inside diamonds brought up from deep volcanic pipes. Proof that even in darkness, water has a home. This underground ocean hums like a dream of life. A quiet reminder that creation is never confined to the surface. Water, even when trapped in rock, still softens it, changes it, allows movement. It is the hidden lubricant of continents, the whispering presence that helps the planet breathe. Perhaps that is why, despite all the fire and pressure, Earth remains alive, because water never truly leaves. It only changes form, waiting for the right moment to rise again as rain, river, or sea. Deep in the Mexican desert, miners once broke through a wall and discovered something otherworldly. A chamber filled with crystals so large they seemed to belong to giants. Beams of selenite, as long as buses and as wide as tree trunks, crossed the cave like frozen light. They called it La Cueva de los Cristales, the Cave of Crystals. Inside, the air was heavy, almost unbreathable, hot enough to scald, humid enough to drown in sweat. And yet within that impossible environment, beauty had been slowly growing for hundreds of thousands of years. Each crystal formed atom by atom, in perfect silence, guided by temperature, pressure, and time. Standing there would feel like standing inside the heart of the planet, surrounded by transparent pillars glowing with inner fire. The crystals seem alive, pulsing faintly with the warmth of the earth. They remind us that even in most inhospitable places, patience creates wonders. The cave is a cathedral not built by hands, but by the quiet devotion of minerals. Elsewhere, in the folds of ancient seas, another slow miracle unfolds. Deep layers of salt, buried long ago beneath sediments, begin to move. Not with water's fluidity, but with the slow persistence of time. Under pressure, salt behaves like a living thing. It flows. Millions of years, it pushes upward through heavier rock, forming immense domes that rise like frozen waves. These salt domes can be hundreds of meters tall, gently lifting the layers above them. Around their edges, oil and gas collect in pockets. The trapped breath of ancient life, turned to energy. Salt is the memory of vanished oceans, the crystallized echo of tides that once washed through coral and shell. It seals the past, and through its movement, shapes the future. Beneath the Gulf of Mexico, under the deserts of the Middle East, under plains and mountains across the world, these slow rivers of salt have created entire landscapes and fortunes. Yet beyond their material value, they remind us that even what seems solid and still is capable of graceful motion. If you listen in stillness, you can almost hear it. A long, slow sigh of the earth rearranging itself molecule by molecule. But the planet's memory does not end with minerals. Sometimes it keeps the shape of life itself. In certain valleys and deserts, you can find forests that have turned to stone. Trees that once swayed in sunlight, now frozen in crystal. These are petrified woods, one of nature's most haunting miracles. Long ago, when a tree fell and was quickly buried in sediment, its cells were slowly replaced by minerals. Silica, quartz, opal, each molecule taking the place of what once lived. The process preserved every detail. The rings, the fibers, even the delicate texture of bark. To hold a piece of petrified wood is to touch time itself. It feels cold and heavy, yet it carries the shape of something that once drank rain and sunlight. It is both death and resurrection, proof that nothing ever truly vanishes. Transformation is simply another form of continuity. In this way, the Earth acts as an artist. It sculpts fossils, paints crystals, and records stories of forests in the language of quartz. It shows us that decay and beauty are not opposites. They are partners. What is buried can become luminous. What is lost can be reborn in a new form. Deeper still, within the planet's story, lie two other relics of transformation: coal and oil. They are not the bones of stone, but the breath of life itself. Ancient sunlight, captured and buried, waiting to return. Coal began in lush prehistoric swamps where giant ferns and towering trees grew thick in warm, humid air. When those forests died, their remains sank into stagnant waters where oxygen was scarce. Time and pressure worked together, compressing the carbon of those plants into dense black seams. Each lump of coal is a forest made solid, a fossilized dusk of leaves and rain. When it burns, it releases the light of those long-dead suns back into the air. Oil's journey was quieter, or not from forests, but from oceans. Millions of years ago, tiny marine organisms, plankton and algae, drifted in the warm seas, catching sunlight in their fragile bodies. When they died, they fell like snow to the seafloor, forming thick layers of organic mud. Buried under sand and pressure, those remains transformed into liquid energy. Crude oil, the compressed memory of ancient life. When we ignite fuel, when a lamp glows or a car moves, we are awakening that stored sunlight. Every spark of energy from oil or coal is the echo of photosynthesis, of leaves and plankton converting light into life. We live today on the generosity of that ancient radiance. There is a quiet poetry in this. The fire that drives our machines once flickered in the cells of plants. The energy that powers cities was first born in the calm of shallow seas. Even the fuels we think of as lifeless are in truth the afterglow of life itself. But the earth does not give without measure. For each flame we kindle, we release not only energy, but also the breath of ages past, carbon returning to the air it once left. The cycle continues, and in it lies both wonder and responsibility. To study these buried gifts is to realize that the earth keeps nothing only for itself. It transforms everything, life into mineral, mineral into fuel, fuel into breath again. Each process is both ending and beginning. Each layer below us is a memory of transformation waiting to be understood. When you think of the world beneath your feet, imagine not a static interior, but a living one, a vast workshop of time, heat, and patience. The mantle's hidden ocean, the glowing crystals of mica, the rivers of salt and oil, the petrified forest, all are movements in the same long meditation. They tell us that the Earth's true genius is not speed, but stillness. It works in silence, in darkness, in the slow alchemy of pressure and persistence. It teaches us that creation does not need noise. Needs only continuity. Perhaps the same is true for us. Beneath our visible lives, beneath our routines, and distractions, there is a deep place where change is always happening, quietly, invisibly, preparing the next form of who we are. The planet's interior is a mirror of the soul. Both are made of hidden oceans, of light crystallized by time, of warmth and weight and endless renewal. The deeper you look, the more you realize. Nothing is still, nothing is wasted, and even in the darkest chambers of existence, something magnificent is always growing. When you walk along a beach and feel the grains of sand beneath your feet, you are touching the dust of mountains, the memory of stone. Each tiny particle was once part of something vast and immovable. A cliff, a summit, a boulder, bathed in sunlight. Over time, wind, water, and ice worked patiently to break those giants apart, grinding them, grain by grain, until what remained could be carried by a wave or a breeze. Sand is the planet's slowest poetry, each grain a syllable in the long story of erosion and rebirth. In deserts and along coasts, sand moves like breath. It drifts, gathers, and reshapes itself endlessly. The dunes of Morocco, Chile, and Namibia are living things, climbing and collapsing, whispering as they move. On certain days, when the wind is right and the air is dry, some dunes sing. The sound begins as a low hum, then swells into a deep, resonant tone that vibrates through the chest. Scientists call it booming sand, caused when millions of grains slide together in perfect rhythm. But standing there, it feels like something more. Like the earth herself is humming a song to no one. The sound of stillness moving. Not all sands are born from rock. Along the edges of tropical seas, waves grind shells and coral into pale, powdery beaches. These are biogenic sands, made from the skeletons of creatures that once swam in warm lagoons. When you hold a handful of this sand, you hold a handful of former life. The calcium bones of coral, the spiral homes of snails, the shimmer of ancient reefs. Each wave, each tide, continues the work of transformation. Life becoming mineral, mineral returning to light. And then there is color, the secret language of sand. The world's beaches and deserts come in every hue the planet can imagine. There are black sands, born from volcanic basalt, where every grain glitters with the memory of fire. On the shores of Hawaii or Iceland, they shimmer under sunlight like powdered obsidian. There are green sands, tinted by olivine crystals, fragments of the mantle itself, carried upward through volcanic vents and released into daylight. Red sands tell of iron-rich rocks, rusted by time and air. Pink sands, found in Bermuda or the Bahamas, are the crushed remains of coral and tiny organisms, called foraminifera, turning shorelines into blushing ribbons of light. Each color tells a story of its parent stone, its journey from the depths to the edge of the sea. Together, they form a global tapestry of the Earth's memory, a reminder that beauty is often nothing more than the residue of endurance. But the greatest sculptors of all are not wind or waves. They are glaciers, the patient artists of the frozen world. A glacier begins as snow that never melts, layer upon layer, compressing under its own weight until it becomes solid ice. But ice, under great pressure, behaves like a slow-moving river. It flows, It carves. It shapes. As it moves, a glacier drags rocks across bedrock, polishing mountains into smooth curves, grinding valleys into deep, graceful U-shapes. It carries boulders for miles, deposits them like punctuation marks in the landscape. And when it finally retreats, it leaves behind lakes that glimmer in the hollows it once filled. Many of the world's most breathtaking places. The fjords of Norway, the Great Lakes of North America, the high valleys of the Alps, are the handwriting of glaciers, written in ice and stone. To watch a glacier, even for a day, is to glimpse the slowness of time. Some move just a few centimeters, others a meter or two, yet their force is enough to sculpt continents. Under their enormous weight, ice behaves not as a solid, but as a fluid. It bends, flows, and ripples, much like honey poured onto a table. This is not the rigidity of stone, but the patience of water remembering how to move. Even in its coldest form, water remains a creator. It freezes not to end motion, but to refine it. Within every glacier, meltwater channels flow and refreeze, carrying minerals that will one day feed rivers and seas. Each cycle of melting and freezing nourishes the landscape like breath, a slow inhalation of snow, a slow exhalation of rivers. And so, from sand to ice, the planet teaches us the same lesson. Transformation never ends. Mountains crumble into dust. Dust becomes dunes. Dunes shift and scatter into ocean beds. Glaciers carve and melt, feeding streams that will one day grind stone again. Nothing is lost, only changed in form and rhythm. To walk barefoot on sand is to walk across the ashes of volcanoes, then the bones of seas. To stand before a glacier is to stand before time itself, solid and yet moving. Both speak to the same truth, that even the smallest motion, given patience, can reshape the world. In the whisper of dunes and the gleam of black sand, in the slow blue light of glacial ice, the earth reveals her gentlest face. She reminds us that beauty is not in permanence, but in process. That everything is always becoming something else, and that within every grain, every droplet, every crystal of ice, the story of the planet continues, quietly, endlessly, beautiful. If rocks are the memory of the earth, then fossils are the memory of life, the quiet testimonies of all that once breathed, walked, or swam beneath ancient skies. Hidden in layers of stone, they speak softly across millions of years, telling us that nothing truly disappears, it only changes form. Sometimes the smallest traces endure the longest. In certain slabs of sandstone, you can still see the delicate impressions of raindrops that fell hundreds of millions of years ago. Each tiny crater is a heartbeat of an ancient storm, frozen in time. Those droplets landed on soft mud, hardened, and were buried beneath new layers of sediment, only to re-emerge eons later as stone pages recording a single passing shower. To look at them is to glimpse a moment of weather so old, it predates memory itself. Other fossils preserve what should have been impossible: soft tissue, skin, or even the colors of feathers. Under the right conditions, mineral-rich water seeps into a buried body before decay can finish its work. It replaces each cell with crystal, preserving every vein, every muscle fiber, every filament of down. Some ancient dinosaurs, turned to stone, still carry pigments that reveal the patterns of their plumage, shades of rust, blue, or iridescent green. What was once living light becomes enduring color. The fossils glow faintly, as if remembering the warmth of the sun they once basked in. But the oldest memories of all belong to beings far simpler. Long before forests, fish, or bones existed, microbes were shaping the planet itself. In shallow seas, ancient bacteria gathered in mats that trapped and bound sediments into layered mounds called stromatolites. Some of these structures, found in Australia and Greenland, are over 3.5 billion years old, the earliest visible evidence of life on Earth. Even more astonishing, stromatolites are not entirely gone. They still live today in a few remote lagoons and salt bays, where modern descendants of those microbes continue to grow, millimeter by millimeter, reaching towards sunlight just as they did when the world was young. To stand before them is to gaze directly into the dawn of biology. It was these ancient organisms, cyanobacteria, or blue-green algae, that changed everything. They were the first to master photosynthesis, using sunlight to split water molecules and release oxygen as a byproduct. Millions of years, that oxygen reacted with iron in the oceans, turning them red with rust and forming massive iron deposits deep beneath today's continent. Only after the seas could absorb no more did oxygen begin to fill the sky. This slowed transformation, called the Great Oxidation Event, was both creation and crisis. To early life that had evolved without oxygen, the new gas was poison. But for the future, for us, it was the beginning of breath. Every inhale we take carries the gift of those ancient microbial artists who painted the air blue. They turned a lifeless rock into a breathing world. Yet even a breathing planet can nearly die. About 700 million years ago, the Earth entered one of its strangest and most perilous chapters, an era known as Snowball Earth. Ice spread from pole to equator, sealing the oceans beneath miles of frozen crust. From space, the planet would have looked like a pearl, white, silent, and nearly still. Sunlight reflected away, temperatures plunged, and life retreated into tiny refuges beneath the ice, clinging to warmth near volcanic vents, or pockets of liquid water. For millions of years, the world remained trapped in this glacial stillness. But deep below the ice, the Earth was not dead. Volcanoes still rumbled, invisible but relentless, exhaling carbon dioxide into the air. With the ocean sealed, the gas had nowhere to dissolve. Slowly, it built up, layer upon invisible layer, until the planet reached a tipping point. Then, the change came swiftly. A greenhouse awakening. The Shiwu trapped the sun's heat, melting the global ice in a cataclysmic thaw. Imagine rivers of water rushing across continents, mountains emerging from white silence, clouds of steam rising into a blue sky for the first time in eons. The planet was reborn, transformed from a frozen tomb into a world of warmth and rain. In that rebirth, conditions shifted again. Oceans became rich in nutrients, the atmosphere dense with oxygen, and soon after came the Cambrian explosion, the great flowering of complex life. It was as if the planet, having been tested by ice, exhaled and began to dream in color once more. Even today, the echoes of snowball Earth remain, in the scars of glacial rock, in the layers of ancient sediment, in the chemistry of our seas. The story reminds us that life's endurance is not the absence of catastrophe, but its response to it. When everything freezes, something still waits to thaw. When silence reigns, the next song is already forming beneath the surface. Ice and fire, death and renewal, extinction and rebirth, all parts of the same long, patient cycle. And perhaps that is the most healing truth of all, that no winter lasts forever. The same planet that once froze solid now carries forests, oceans, and the warmth of our own pulse. Every thaw, every dawn, every deep breath is a quiet echo of the world's first awakening. From stillness to motion to light. Long before the skies turned blue and the air became sweet with oxygen, the earth was a world of strange colors. The oceans shimmered with violet light, tinted by microbes that lived in a time before oxygen existed. The air was heavy with methane and carbon dioxide, and lightning storms danced constantly across a copper horizon. It was not yet a home for breathing life. It was a planet still learning how to breathe. And then, in the quiet waters of shallow seas, something miraculous began. Tiny cyanobacteria, the blue-green architects of existence, appeared. They were small beyond imagination, yet within them burned a chemistry that would change the course of everything. They learned to use sunlight to split water, releasing oxygen, a gas that at first had no place in the world. For millions of years it vanished into the oceans, reacting with the dissolved iron that filled the seas. The result was a breathtaking transformation. As oxygen met iron, it rusted, sinking to the seafloor as dark, layered stone. These are the banded iron formations, ancient rocks of black and red that still gleam in quarries today. The physical evidence of the planet's first breath. Each strike is a heartbeat of that early rhythm. Sunlight absorbed, oxygen released, iron turned to rust. Gradually, as the seas could hold no more, oxygen began to spill into the sky. The transformation was slow, invisible, yet relentless. The once purple oceans turned green, then blue. The haze of methane thinned. The planet's surface cooled. For the first time, the world had an atmosphere that could sustain complex life. It was both gift and trial. To the early anaerobic organisms, oxygen was a deadly poison. Many vanished, buried beneath the very air that would give rise to new life. Yet from that destruction came expansion. The first cells with nuclei, the ancestors of plants, animals, and eventually, us. Imagine it. The very breath you draw now is the echo of those ancient microbes. The same oxygen molecule that may have drifted once through a Precambrian sea. Every inhale is a communion with that deep lineage, a continuation of an unbroken act of creation that began billions of years ago. As oxygen filled the skies, sunlight transformed from something harsh and deadly into something nurturing. The planet gained a protective ozone layer, shielding life from the sun's ultraviolet fire. With that protection, living things could leave the oceans, creeping onto land for the first time, painting the continents with green. Forests rose, the air thickened with moisture, and the sky began to mirror the pulse of photosynthesis. The Earth became not just a planet, but an organism. A single, breathing being, where air, water, rock, and life were all bound in one continuous cycle. Volcanoes exhaled carbon dioxide, plants inhaled it and released oxygen. Oceans absorbed and released both, keeping the world in balance. To stand beneath the open sky and breathe deeply is to participate in that same sacred exchange. You inhale what the forests exhale, and you exhale what the oceans inhale. The boundary between your lungs and the atmosphere dissolves. You are made of the same chemistry that turned the Earth from a purple sea into a blue marble. Even now, the planet's air is alive. It is not a static blanket, but a restless river, swirling between hemispheres, carrying heat, pollen, spores, and whispers. Every breeze you feel has touched mountain peaks, deserts, and waves before reaching you. The oxygen that enters your body tonight may have left a leaf in the Amazon last week. The breath that leaves you now will join clouds, circle the globe, and return again, renewed. The air remembers. It has never stopped moving since that first exhale of cyanobacteria billions of years ago. While the atmosphere transformed the surface of the planet, the land below continued its own ancient rhythm, a vast, slow dance of union and separation. Beneath the crust, the mantle moved like liquid glass, pushing and pulling the continents in endless choreography. The mountains we see today are only the latest gesture in a performance that has lasted over 4 billion years. Entire ranges have risen and crumbled, disappeared into the sea, and returned elsewhere in new forms. Most of Earth's oldest peaks, those born billions of years ago, are gone now, eroded into dust or folded back into the mantle. The landscape is a self-renewing canvas. This eternal rhythm is known as the supercontinent cycle, a grand heartbeat that gathers all land into one colossal mass before breaking it apart again. The cycle has repeated many times, each lasting hundreds of millions of years, shaping the geography and the destiny of life itself. The first known supercontinent was Nuna, more than 1.8 billion years ago, when scattered continents slowly drifted together. When it finally broke apart, a new one took shape, Rodinia, about 1 billion years ago. In Rodinia's time, the world may have been covered by ice, the snowball Earth that tested life's endurance. When Rodinia fractured, its pieces drifted into the southern hemisphere, merging once again as Gondwana. Later, Gondwana collided with northern continents to form Pangaea, perhaps the most famous of all supercontinents, a single landmass surrounded by an endless ocean. Imagine a world where you could walk from what is now Argentina to Africa, from Siberia to Canada, without crossing a sea. The interior of Pangaea was vast, arid, and harsh. Its deserts stretched thousands of kilometers beneath a sky filled with red dust and thunderclouds. But even Pangaea could not last. The heat trapped beneath it built pressure until the crust tore open and magma surged upward, splitting the land apart. The rift widened and the Atlantic Ocean was born, a slow widening scar that continues to grow today. The continents drifted to where they are now, carried by tectonic currents that never rest. Each time this cycle repeats, the planet rewrites its climate, its currents, its possibilities for life. When continents unite, mountain chains rise, and weather patterns shift dramatically. When they separate, coastlines bloom with new ecosystems, and evolution takes new directions. Life itself follows the rhythm of geology. And the dance is not over. Even now, the continents continue their slow migration. Australia is inching northward, destined to collide with Asia, raising new mountains where Indonesia now lies. Africa is splitting along a deep rift that will one day form a new ocean, dividing the continent in two. Across the North Atlantic, Iceland marks a place where the Earth's crust is literally parting, a living scar where the mid-Atlantic ridge breaches the surface, allowing magma to cool into new land even as we watch. Far in the future, perhaps 300 million years from now, the continents will converge again, forming a new supercontinent scientists call Amasia. Asia and North America will meet at the North Pole, while Africa and Europe merge into a new heartland. The Pacific Ocean will vanish. A single land will again dominate the globe. The Earth's crust will exhale and inhale once more, completing another cycle of reunion and separation. It is humbling to think that mountains rise and oceans open in the same way we breathe, in cycles of expansion and contraction, of tension and release. The planet, like us, has its own pulse, its own quiet intervals between creation and collapse. When you look at a map, what seems stable is, in truth, a momentary arrangement. Every coastline is temporary, every border fleeting. The continents we know are travelers on a molten sea, moving at the pace of fingernails, yet their motion has written every chapter of Earth's story. And so, the same forces that shaped the first mountain, that split the first ocean, are still at work beneath your feet right now. The ground may seem still, but it is drifting, sliding, breathing. The wind above carries the memory of the planet's first breath. The rock below carries the rhythm of its endless dance. Together, they form a single meditation. The Earth's way of becoming, a world that breathes in air and stone, uniting the sky's whisper and the mantle's fire. From cyanobacteria to continents, from oxygen to oceans, every motion, fast or slow, is a continuation of the same living conversation. To understand this is to see that nothing stands alone. The air you breathe, the land you walk, the fire beneath you, and the tides that wash the shore, all are parts of one vast cycle of renewal. Life is not separate from the planet's movement. Life is the planet's movement, aware of itself for a fleeting moment in time. And perhaps that is the truest meditation of all, to realize that you too are part of the same rhythm, the same ancient breath that began in a violet sea billions of years ago, still flowing through your lungs, still moving continents beneath your feet, still whispering the Earth's quiet vow to never stop becoming. Even now, in the age of satellites and silicon, the ancient heart of the Earth continues to beat. Beneath our cities, our oceans, our quiet gardens, the mantle still churns, whispering through cracks in the crust, sending heat upward in shimmering plumes. We live, though we rarely think of it, atop a sea of fire. It is not a thing of the past. It is now. Volcanoes are not only relics of Earth's youth, they are its lungs, still breathing, still shaping the world we know. Every eruption is a reminder that the planet is alive, not as a metaphor, but as a fact of motion and heat. And among all of the places where that heat finds voice, A chain of islands in the Pacific tells perhaps the clear story. Even now, in the age of satellites and silicon, the ancient heart of the Earth continues to beat. Beneath our cities, our oceans, our quiet gardens, the mantle still churns, whispering through cracks in the crust, sending heat upward in shimmering plumes. We live, though we rarely think of it, atop a sea of fire. It is not a thing of the past, it is now. Volcanoes are not only relics of Earth's youth, they are its lungs, still breathing, still shaping the world we know. Every eruption is a reminder that the planet is alive, not as a metaphor, but as a fact of motion and heat. And among all the places where that heat finds voice, a chain of islands in the Pacific tells perhaps the clearest story. If you look at a map of the Pacific Ocean, the Hawaiian Islands curve gently, like beads on an invisible string. They stretch more than 2,400 kilometers, from the youngest island of Hawaii in the southeast to the oldest, worn-down atolls of Kure in the northwest. To the naked eye, it might seem as if this archipelago was formed by a wandering line of volcanoes. But in truth, it is not the volcanoes that move. It is the planet itself. Beneath the Pacific plate lies a hotspot, a fixed plume of magma that rises from deep within the mantle, punching through the crust like a slow-motion torch. As the tectonic plate drifts northwestward, it carries each newly formed volcano away from its fiery source, allowing another to rise in its place. Over millions of years, this process has built an island chain that maps the Pacific's motion, a time-lapse record of the Earth's slow migration. The Big Island, Hawaii, sits directly above the hotspot today, and its volcanoes, Kilauea, Mauna Loa, Mauna Kea, are among the most active on Earth. Their eruptions are not violent explosions, but long, glowing rivers of lava flowing gracefully toward the sea. When that molten rock meets the ocean, it hisses, cracks, and cools into new land. It is creation in real time, raw, audible, visible. To stand near such a flow is to feel the planet's pulse directly. The air smells of sulfur and rain, and the ground beneath your feet vibrates softly, as if the world were humming in its sleep. Scientists measure the lava's temperature, over 1,100 degrees C. But what's harder to measure is its stillness. The way each eruption feels both ancient and newborn, destructive and healing at once. On the Big Island, land and sea are in constant dialogue. Lava cools into black basalt, waves break it into sand, winds scatter it into beaches, and rain returns it to the ocean as dissolved minerals. It is a cycle of burning and washing. Of giving and taking, as old as the mantle itself. The Hawaiians, for thousands of years, understood this intuitively. To them, the goddess Pele was not merely a destroyer, but a mother, one who creates new land through fire, giving the ocean fresh ground to kiss. Every eruption is a prayer answered by the planet itself, a reminder that even what seems solid is still becoming. But not all volcanoes whisper. Some wait in silence for ages, gathering their power in secret. Beneath the forests and rivers of Wyoming lies one of the most extraordinary and most dangerous features on Earth, the Yellowstone caldera. Unlike a mountain-shaped volcano, Yellowstone is a vast depression, roughly 70 kilometers wide, the scar left by past cataclysms. It is the surface trace of another hotspot, this one buried beneath the North American continent. As the plate drifts westward over it, the heat trapped below forms immense magma chambers, reservoirs of molten rock that sometimes rise to the surface as geysers, hot springs, and fumaroles. If you've ever watched a geyser erupt, water bursting skyward, steam curling into the air, you've seen the Earth exhale. Beneath Yellowstone, that steam is only the faintest hint of a power that could, in theory, reshape continents. About 640,000 years ago, this same region exploded in one of the largest volcanic eruptions in geological history. About 640,000 years ago, the blast released 1,000 cubic kilometers of ash and magma, enough to cover half of North America in gray dust. The eruption darkened skies around the world, cooled global temperatures, and left behind the immense caldera we know today. But the planet recovered, as it always does. Life returned to the forests. Rivers carved new paths through the ash. Bison now graze peacefully above the same furnace that once scorched the sky. Scientists still monitor Yellowstone closely. They measure tremors, gas emissions, and the swelling of the ground, signs of motion in the magma chamber below. It is unlikely to erupt again anytime soon, but the potential remains. To contemplate it is to remember the humility required of those who live on a breathing world. Beneath the calm meadows and sapphire lakes, the deep earth waits, neither benevolent nor cruel, only alive. The story of volcanoes is not always one of heat. It is also one of paradox. For while they are born of fire, the greatest eruptions can bring ice. Supervolcanoes, when they release enough ash and sulfur into the atmosphere, can dim the sun for years, cooling the planet and reshaping the climate. 74,000 years ago, in what is now Sumatra, Mount Tuba unleashed such a catastrophe. The explosion was so immense that it carved a caldera nearly 100 kilometers long, now filled by Lake Tuba. For weeks, ash rained from the sky, blanketing Southeast Asia and India, drifting as far as Africa. Sunlight scattered through the haze, dimming the world into a long, volcanic twilight. Some scientists believe this event plunged the Earth into a volcanic winter lasting centuries. Global temperatures dropped several degrees. Ecosystems collapsed. Humanity itself, still small and scattered, may have dwindled to a few thousand surviving individuals. And yet, from that narrow thread of survival, our lineage continued. In that sense, Toba was both a destroyer and a crucible. The cooling it caused may have pushed early humans to migrate, adapt, and evolve new tools, language, and cooperation. Out of the ash came creativity, the ability to endure. The planet, as ever, turned disaster into evolution. When you look at a lake like Toba today, its still surface belies the chaos that birthed it. The water reflects clouds and forests, concealing the magma chamber that still murmurs below. The lake is not merely a wound. It is a mirror of transformation. In every eruption, there is both terror and artistry. As plumes of ash rise into the atmosphere, static charges build within them, sparking volcanic lightning, great veins of white fire that fork through the clouds. To see it from a distance is to watch the earth paint with stormlight. Each bolt a signature of power too vast for words. Sometimes these explosions happen beneath ice, as in Iceland, where volcanoes sleep under glaciers. When the magma bursts through, it melts vast chambers of water that escape as floods. Jökulhlaups, the Icelandic word for sudden glacial outburst. These floods carve new valleys, change coastlines, and in rare cases, create new islands, as happened in 1963 when Surtsey rose from the sea. Surtsey began as a column of steam and ash erupting through the North Atlantic. Then slowly, a cone of lava emerged, solidifying into land where none had existed before. Even as the eruption ended, the island continued to evolve. It's rock-sized. Then grass, then birds. Within decades, it had become a sanctuary for life. The cycle had completed itself once more, destruction giving rise to creation, fire leading back to green. If you could see the Earth through the lens of time-lapse, millennia unfolding in moments, you would notice that its fire never sleeps. Plumes rise, crusts crack, islands bloom and sink. The hotspots under Hawaii, Yellowstone, Iceland, and Toba are only a few among hundreds, each event through which the planet releases its inner heat. Every year, hundreds of eruptions occur across the world, most unseen. On the seafloor, magma erupts continuously along mid-ocean ridges, adding new crust as quietly as breathing. In the Aleutians, in Kamchatka, in the Andes, and the Mediterranean, volcanoes pulse in an unending sequence of pressure and release. These are not random events. They are the Earth's way of maintaining balance. The planet cools itself by venting heat, reshapes its crust through eruption, renews its soil with minerals from below. Even the air we breathe carries traces of volcanic gases, carbon dioxide, sulfur, water vapor, released slowly, endlessly, over time. The paradox is profound. The same processes that once caused mass extinctions also sustain the conditions for life. Without volcanoes, the planet's atmosphere would thin, its oceans would shrink, and its surface would grow cold. The fire beneath us, dangerous as it is also the source of stability. To meditate on volcanoes is to meditate on ourselves. The same forces that move magma also move emotion, creativity, transformation. Pressure builds beneath the surface, unseen, ignored, until it finds a path to release. Sometimes that release is gentle, a slow flow that nourishes new ground. Sometimes it is explosive, reshaping everything we thought was permanent. But always, after the eruption, comes renewal. The land cools, the air clears, life returns. Seeds germinate in volcanic ash, faster than in ordinary soil. Minerals from deep within the earth enrich the surface, feeding forests and crops. From devastation comes fertility. So too within us. Moments we fear as destruction grief, change, loss are often the moments when new ground is forming beneath our feet. Pressure is not the enemy. It is the beginning of transformation. The Earth does not apologize for its eruptions. It simply continues the rhythm of becoming. Look again at a volcano, at its smoke rising into the sky. See in it not threat, but process. The same breath that once built the continent still flows through those plumes. The same energy that lights the core of the Earth lights the neurons in your brain, the fire in your blood. We are not apart from the planet's fire. We are born of it. The iron in your blood was forged in ancient stars. The carbon in your skin was tempered in volcanic heat. When you breathe, when you love, when you imagine, you are continuing the same elemental dance that shaped the islands of Hawaii and the caldera of Yellowstone. The world still burns beneath us, but not in rage. It burns in rhythm, in creation, in persistence, in love. It reminds us that life is never finished, that beneath every cooled surface, something bright still stirs. And when the Earth exhales again, through fire, or water, or wind, we might listen differently, knowing that it is not destruction we are witnessing, but the planet's own meditation, a long glowing breath of transformation shared with everything that has ever lived. Beneath the calm surface of our planet, not everything moves in silence. Sometimes, the Earth releases its power in ways that defy logic. Moments where air becomes liquid, stone becomes breath, and darkness reveals its own weather. These are not disasters alone. They are expressions of the same deep intelligence that guides rivers and tides. They remind us that even in the hidden places, the Earth is still alive. In the highlands of Cameroon lies a lake that once slept quietly between green hills, its waters smooth as glass. But on a late August night in 1986, Lake Nyos changed the world's understanding of silence. Without warning, the lake released a massive cloud of carbon dioxide, heavier than air, which rolled down the surrounding valleys like an invisible tide. Within minutes, entire villages fell still. More than 1,700 people and countless animals perished in their sleep. Not burned, not drowned, but quietly suffocated by the Earth's own breath. For centuries, no one had known that beneath the tranquil surface, volcanic gases had been accumulating in the depths. Over time, pressure and stratification kept the gas trapped until a small disturbance, perhaps a landslide or a cool rainfall, triggered the release. It was a natural eruption of air, a limnic explosion, both terrifying and awe-inspiring. Today, engineers have installed pipes to vent the gas safely, allowing the lake to breathe slowly instead of holding its breath. The tragedy of Nyos reminds us that even what appears still can hold immense power. Beneath calmness, pressure builds. Beneath reflection, movement stirs. The same principle is true of the Earth and of ourselves. The goal is not to suppress the pressure, but to let it flow safely, rhythmically, with awareness. Elsewhere, the planet speaks through absence. In certain regions, the ground simply vanishes overnight. Fields collapse, roads swallow themselves, and entire houses sink into the earth. These are the mysterious sinkholes, gateways into the karst world beneath. They form when water, patient, persistent, dissolves the limestone and gypsum that lie under the surface. Over thousands of years, underground caverns grow wider and more fragile until the ceiling finally gives way. What looks like disaster is often only revelation. The Earth revealing an inner architecture that has been growing in secret all along. Beneath these openings flow underground rivers, invisible veins of the planet's circulatory system. They wind through darkness, connecting caverns, carving channels, and carrying dissolved minerals that build wonders of their own. Inside these caverns, water drips steadily from stone ceilings, drop by drop, for centuries. Each droplet leaves behind a trace of mineral, calcium carbonate, that accumulates into slender towers. These are the stalactites that hang like chandeliers of stone, mirrored by stalagmites rising from the floor. Where they finally meet, they form columns, silent pillars, linking the upper and lower worlds. The growth is almost imperceptible. Some formations add only a few millimeters in 100 years. Yet over time, their patient sculpts cathedrals of breathtaking beauty. To enter such a cave is to step into time slowed to its gentlest pace. The air is cool, heavy with moisture, and every sound echoes as if the rock itself were listening. When you walk through a cavern lit only by the beam of a headlamp, you see stone not as solid, but as liquid in slow motion. Each flow of calcite is a frozen ripple, each column a memory of countless raindrops. The cave becomes a meditation on persistence, the art of creation through stillness. In these underground realms, the Earth has its own weather. Temperature remains constant year-round, often hovering near the average of the region's surface climate. There's humidity, but no sunlight, wind, but only from the subtle movement of pressure between tunnels. Scientists call this the respiration of the Earth. Inside, condensation forms into mist, dripping down walls, feeding pools that shimmer like liquid mirrors. When you stand in such a place, it is easy to imagine that you are inside the lungs of the planet. Each drop of water, each whisper of air, part of a greater rhythm of breath. Life exists here too, adapted to the dark. Pale insects without eyes, fish that glow faintly, fungi that feed on minerals instead of sunlight. They live in a perpetual twilight, proof that existence needs neither light nor noise to thrive. In their silence, they echo the lesson of the Earth itself. Balance through surrender. Among all the world's subterranean realms, one stands apart for its sheer immensity. The Mammoth Cave System of Kentucky, the longest known cave on Earth. Over 400 miles of mapped passageways wind through limestone, with many more still undiscovered. To enter Mammoth Cave is to step out of time. The air cools to a steady stillness, and the outside world fades. For thousands of years, humans have wandered its depths. Native peoples seeking shelter, explorers tracing rivers that vanish underground, scientists mapping its geology. Its halls are so vast that some echo for seconds after a single word is spoken. The cave is more than a hollow space. It is a document written by water. Underground rivers carved its chambers, dissolved its walls, and left behind layers of history and stone. Fossils of marine life, shells and coral. Reminders that this place was once a seabed hundreds of millions of years ago. When the lights are turned off and the darkness becomes total, you begin to sense what life might feel like to the earth itself. Form without sight, movement without sound, time without measure. It is not frightening, but deeply peaceful. In that darkness, you can almost hear the slow beating of the world's hidden heart. Each strange occurrence is part of a greater harmony, reminding us that even danger and decay have their place in the choreography of life. The Lake Neos eruption teaches the need for release. The karst caverns teach patience. The stalactites teach persistence through time. And the Mammoth Cave teaches humility before the unknown. Together, they reveal a truth too large for words, that the world below is not separate from the one above. It is the same pulse felt through different materials. To journey through the underground is to journey into the subconscious of the planet and of ourselves. It is where the visible dissolves into the invisible, where silence becomes language, where time slows until it feels like eternity. And perhaps, when you emerge again into sunlight, you will breathe differently, aware that the air you inhale has passed through stone, that the ground beneath you is still moving, still dreaming, still alive. For the Earth's wonders do not end at the surface. They continue downward, deep into the quiet, where creation never sleeps. Sometimes the Earth speaks in tremors. Beneath our feet, plates of stone press, grind, and resist, until one moment when pressure gives way to motion. In that instant, the planet exhales. We call it an earthquake. But it is in truth a gesture of balance, the world releasing tension it has carried for too long. The scale of such release is almost beyond imagining. A single major quake can unleash energy equivalent to millions of tons of TNT, rippling outward in waves that race through the crust faster than sound. These seismic waves travel not only across the ground, but through it, echoing through the entire globe like a bell struck by an invisible hand. Sensitive instruments can record the vibrations circling the Earth multiple times before fading into stillness. Each tremor, large or small, reshapes the planet just a little. When massive earthquakes strike, the redistribution of mass is so profound that they can actually change the length of a day, making the Earth spin slightly faster, shortening our time by fractions of a millisecond. The difference is imperceptible to us, but real. Even time itself bends under the pressure of the planet's breath. To witness such force is to feel both awe and humility. Cities crumble, coastlines shift, rivers alter course. Yet, in the grand rhythm of geology, destruction is never final. The crust breaks only to heal in new patterns. The same motion that tears mountains down also raises them elsewhere. It is the choreography of creation, written in fault lines and folds. Beneath the immediate violence of shaking, the process continues quietly for eons. When the crust grinds and folds, the rocks themselves transform. Under heat and pressure, they soften, not melting, but flowing like plastic clay. Their minerals realign, their colors deepen, their structure hardens. These are the metamorphic rocks, the children of stress and time. From ancient sandstone, the earth makes quartzite, dense, radiant, unbreakable. From limestone, it fashions marble, where once coral reefs are reborn as luminous stone fit for cathedrals. From shale, it presses slate, smooth and layered like the pages of a diary. Every metamorphic rock is a record of endurance, matter that survived crushing pressure and emerged changed but intact. If you hold a piece of marble or slate in your hand, you are holding evidence of transformation, the calm after unimaginable strain. It is the same story told by earthquakes, but slowed to geological time. Pressure becomes form, chaos becomes beauty. In that sense, an earthquake is not only a catastrophe, but a reminder. It shows us that even the hardest materials yield. That movement is not failure, but necessity. Just as the planet must shift to remain whole, so must we. We too build tension, layer upon layer, until something inside us must move. Sometimes violently, sometimes gently. And after the shaking comes renewal, the chance to rebuild on steadier ground. Every tremor, every metamorphosed stone, every shortened day whispers the same truth. This world is alive, dynamic, in constant conversation with itself. Beneath the quiet of our daily lives, vast energies turn, seeking balance. To live on Earth is to live upon that breath, to feel its heartbeat beneath our own. So when the ground trembles and the walls hum, remember, it is not anger you feel, but motion. The same motion that once raised mountains, carved oceans, and forged the stones that line your path. The planet is not breaking. It is adjusting, finding its equilibrium one deep, powerful breath at a time. Hidden within the crust, in chambers of pressure and silence, the Earth keeps its own archives. Written not in ink, but in light. These are the gemstones, each a record of heat, time, and transformation. They are the planet's diary, in crystalline form, the condensed poetry of geology. Every gem begins as an ordinary mineral, but under extraordinary conditions, heat rising from the mantle, pressure building through collision, and time measured in millennia, it becomes something more. The structure of atoms tightens, their bonds align, and color blooms from within, like a secret finally revealed. A diamond, a ruby, an emerald, each is the memory of the planet caught in solid light. To a geologist, gemstones are thermodynamic fossils, clues that reveal the temperature and pressure at which they were born. To others, they are objects of beauty and desire. But beneath both science and sentiment lies the same truth. These stones are the crystallized emotions of the Earth, formed in the heart of its long meditation. Among the most ancient of these treasures are the rubies and sapphires, born of the same mineral, corundum, pure aluminum oxide hardened to near perfection. Their difference lies in trace elements, tiny impurities that paint them with color. Chromium turns corundum red, creating the deep flame of ruby. Once, iron and titanium blend to form the serene blues of sapphire. Imagine the journey of such a crystal. Deep within metamorphic rock, molecules arrange themselves in tight symmetry under immense heat. For thousands of years, they grow atom by atom, unseen. Then one day, through the slow movement of the crust, the mountain rises and erosion sets them free. The stone that once slept miles below now catches sunlight for the first time, glowing as if it remembers the furnace that shaped it. Rubies, prized in ancient kingdoms, were believed to contain the fire of life itself. Warriors carried them as protection against wounds. Mystics saw in their glow the pulse of courage. Sapphires, celestial, were thought to hold wisdom and truth. Together, they symbolize the dual nature of creation. Fire and calm, heart and mind. Born of the same substance. Separated only by trace differences, just as humans are shaped by subtle variations of experience. If rubies and sapphires speak of endurance, emeralds whisper of fragility. Formed in the narrowest of conditions, where beryllium, chromium, and vanadium meet under delicate temperatures, they are the rarest of the great gems. Too much heat, and they cloud. Too much pressure, and they fracture. And they fracture. They exist only in places where the planet has held its balance perfectly. That is why emeralds often bear tiny inclusions. Reds, bubbles, and fractures known as Jardin, the garden within the stone. Far from flaws, these marks are signatures of authenticity, proof that the gem was born of natural struggle. Each one is a reminder that beauty often carries the trace of its making. When light passes through an emerald, it becomes a living color, a deep, vibrating green that feels both alive and eternal. It is the hue of forests after rain, of oxygen itself, of renewal. Molding one is like holding the essence of growth. But perhaps no gem captures the Earth's playful imagination more than opal, the stone that holds a storm of color inside. Opal is not formed through pressure or flame, but through patience. It begins when water, rich in silica, seeps into rock and evaporates, leaving behind layers of tiny spheres. These microscopic beads scatter light in all directions, creating the shifting iridescence we see. An entire rainbow trapped in stone. To the naked eye, opal seems alive. Tilted, colors move like northern lights across its surface, reds melting into green, violet into gold. Ancient cultures believed it was fallen starlight or frozen lightning, a gem of transformation and imagination. In truth, it is water turned to color. A dialogue between fluidity and form. Every opal carries the rhythm of evaporation, the rise and fall of ancient groundwater. Some formed in deserts that once were seas. Others grew in volcanic ash, where rain met fire. Their glow is not only optical, it is emotional. Miri, dial, noel. Looking into one feels like watching time dance. Each gemstone, ruby, sapphire, emerald, opal. Crystals teach us how the Earth meditates. Repetition, alignment, and patience. They grow in silence, obeying geometry as faithfully as a monk obeys prayer. To hold a gem is to hold condensed stillness, a piece of the world that found perfect order in chaos. It is proof that under enough pressure, and with enough time, disorder can bloom into beauty. The next time sunlight strikes a jewel, remember, that sparkle is the echo of volcanoes, the reflection of tectonic fire cooled to serenity. Beneath its shine lies a billion years of endurance. These stones are not ornaments. They are the planet's living eyes, still shining with the light of their birth. And perhaps that is why we are drawn to them, because somewhere in our own hearts, forged from the same elements, we recognize their story. We too are shaped by pressure, colored by circumstance, and waiting to catch the right light to reveal the beauty we've quietly become. Before there was mountain or sea, before the first drop of rain or the first spark of life, there was dust. Not the dust, but the dust of creation. Floating in the newborn solar system, it drifted in silence, a shimmering cloud of particles spun from ancient stars. Each grain was a relic of something that had lived and died long before the Earth was even imagined. These were the Stardust grains, the atoms forged in the hearts of supernova. Calcium, carbon, silicon, iron, flung into space by explosions so vast they rewrote the chemistry of the cosmos. Over time, gravity drew these scattered ashes together, weaving them into clumps that collided, melted, and merged. From their gathering came a disk of fire and dust, circling the young sun, the protosolar nebula, cradle of the planets. Within that disk, the Earth began as nothing more than a swirl of molten debris. And long before continents rose, or oceans cooled, the planet was bombarded by rocks from the void. Meteorites, fragments of older worlds, carrying clues to the time before time. Every meteorite that falls to our world is a visitor from the past, a message written in metal and stone. Some are remnants of asteroids that never formed full planets. Others are splinters of worlds long destroyed. Inside them, scientists have found microscopic diamonds, grains of silicon carbide, and isotopes older than the sun itself. To hold a meteorite is to hold the oldest solid thing you can touch, a piece of matter that has not changed in 4.6 billion years. Its surface bears the burn of entry through our atmosphere, a thin black crust like charred memory. Inside, its patterns of iron and nickel form geometric lattices so precise they can only grow in the vacuum of space, cooled over millions of years. These ancient stones tell us how the Earth began, not from nothing, but from inheritance. The metals in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe, all were once fragments of collapsing stars. We are in every literal sense made of cosmic rubble refined by time. When you look at the night sky, you are not looking up, but back. The atoms that make you are older than the constellations themselves. The most dramatic chapter of Earth's formation was written in collision. Around 4.5 billion years ago, a planet-sized body, scientists call it Theia, struck the young Earth with unimaginable force. The impact melted both worlds, sending vaporized rock into orbit. Over time, that ring of debris coalesced into our moon. Every lunar rock ever returned to Earth, whether by Apollo astronauts or meteorites that wandered home, tells the same story. Its composition matches Earth's mantle, confirming that the Moon was born from the same material. Our planet's twin, born of catastrophe and union. The Moon's existence is proof that even destruction can create stability. It steadies the Earth's tilt, moderates our tides, and makes life's rhythms possible. Meanwhile, on the planet that survived the impact, the crust cooled and fractured. Rain fell for the first time, carving rivers across basalt plains. And somewhere in what is now Western Australia, a crystal began to grow. Small, unassuming, yet immortal. It was a zircon, a tiny gemstone of zirconium silicate, and it would outlast everything else. That crystal, dated to more than 4 billion years old, is the oldest known piece of the Earth. Trapped inside it are traces of liquid water, proof that our planet had oceans far earlier than once believed, perhaps within a few 100 million years of its birth. It is a record not just of geology, but of tenderness. Even in an age of fire and bombardment, water had already found a way to flow. The zircon is the Earth's first memory of calm, a single crystal that whispers, life was possible here. Creation is never still. The same forces that cooled the surface soon found ways to erupt again. Across deep time, the planet has been reshaped by events so immense they spanned continents, flood basalts, eruptions that dwarfed any volcano known to humankind. Unlike ordinary eruptions, which last days or years, flood basalts can last millions of years. They occur when colossal volumes of magma rise from the mantle, flooding the surface in sheets of molten rock, hundreds of meters thick. As they harden, they release vast amounts of gas, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, methane, enough to alter the entire planet's climate. Two of these events stand as monuments to both destruction and renewal. The first, the Siberian Traps, erupted about 252 million years ago, covering an area larger than Western Europe. The second, the Deccan Traps of India, erupted 66 million years ago. Each transformed the atmosphere, darkening the skies, warming or cooling the air, and triggering mass extinctions that reset the course of life. The Siberian Traps coincided with the Permian extinction, the most severe in history. Over 90% of marine species and 70% of land species vanished. Oceans turned acidic, forests burned, and for a time, the Earth seemed nearly empty. Yet from that emptiness, new life evolved. Ancestors, the reptiles, mammals, and birds that would one day inherit the world. 66 million years later, the Deccan Traps erupted across India just as a meteor struck near the Yucatan Peninsula. Whether by coincidence or cosmic design, the combination ended the reign of the dinosaurs. But from the ashes came something new. The rise of mammals, the spread of flowering plants, the opening of ecological space that would eventually give rise to us. Every flood of fire is also a seed. Though these ancient eruptions brought devastation, they also fertilized the future. Volcanic ash, rich in minerals like potassium, phosphorus, and iron, spread across continents. Rain and rivers broke it down into soil. The dark, nutrient-rich that would nourish the next generations of life. Even today, the most fertile farmlands in the world lie on volcanic ground. The fields of Java, the slopes of Italy, the valleys of Iceland. What once was catastrophe became abundance. The cycle continues. Fire becomes ash. Becomes soil. Soil becomes forest. And the forest exhales oxygen into the air. The earth, through its most violent acts, continually renews its own capacity to sustain life. From the fall of meteorites to the flood of lava, from the birth of the moon to the quiet endurance of a zircon crystal, the story is the same. Creation through transformation. The rocks beneath our feet are not relics of a static past, but active participants in the present, carrying the memory of the stars, the oceans, and every breath that ever was. When you hold a stone, any stone, you hold the record of everything. Stardust and seawater, magma and sunlight, extinction and rebirth, all condensed into silence. The earth, in its wisdom, never wastes an ending. It turns every fall into foundation, every fire into future. And somewhere in that rhythm, between explosion and stillness, between dusk and dawn, it keeps whispering the same promise. That nothing truly dies. It only changes form, waiting to shine again. If you could drain the oceans and walk along their empty beds, you would see that the planet's greatest mountain ranges are hidden beneath the waves. The Atlantic Ocean, which now stretches wide between the Americas and Eurasia, was once only a narrow scar, a newborn rift, a place where the Earth began to pull itself apart. At its heart lies the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a chain of volcanic mountains running unbroken for more than 60,000 kilometers, wrapping around the globe like a seam of fire. It is the planet's conveyor belt of creation, a slow, steady exhalation of stone. From deep within the mantle, molten rock rises through cracks in the crust, pools upon contact with seawater, and becomes new ocean floor. The continents drift apart as new crust is born between them, while older crust sinks elsewhere into the mantle, completing the endless cycle of renewal. What seems so tranquil from the surface, the blue mirror of the sea, is in truth an engine of motion. Beneath its calm, the planet's pulse beats strongest. The seafloor is young compared to the continents above it. While the oldest continental rocks may be 4 billion years old, the oceanic crust is rarely older than 200 million. It is the planet's skin of constant change, always being remade, always alive. Along this ridge and others like it, the planet's breath escapes through hydrothermal vents. Openings in the crust where seawater seeps down, is heated by magma, and then surges back upward in clouds of mineral-rich steam. When this superheated water meets the freezing ocean depths, its dissolved metals crystallize into plumes of black dust, forming towering chimneys that can rise dozens of meters from the seafloor. Scientists call them black smokers, and though they exist in total darkness, they are oases of life. Around these chimneys, strange creatures thrive in conditions that would kill anything on the surface. To as long as a person, ghostly white crabs, translucent fish, and fields of bacteria shimmer under the faint glow of thermal light. These organisms do not live on sunlight, for no ray of the sun reaches that deep. Instead, they feed on chemistry itself. They draw energy from the reactions between seawater and volcanic minerals. Chemosynthesis, life built on stone and sulfur instead of light and air. In these vent communities, the first cells of Earth may have begun billions of years ago. Imagine that, life beginning not under the warmth of a sky, but in the pressure and darkness of the sea, nurtured by the planet's own fire. Each vent is a cradle, each bubble of gas, a whisper of the origin of all breathing things. The minerals expelled from these vents also create deposits of copper, zinc, and gold, slowly accumulating over millennia. In the silence of the deep, the Earth forges its treasures grain by grain. The chimneys themselves collapse and rebuild, their structures growing like coral reefs of metal and stone. Each one is both monument and moment, rising, falling, and rising again, in rhythm with the planet's breathing. The ocean floor, often imagined as lifeless, is in truth a realm of creation. It is where heat meets water, pressure meets patience, and chemistry becomes life. It is where the Earth's heartbeat is felt not as sound, but as warmth. The next time you stand beside the sea and listen to its roar, remember that beneath that vast expanse, rivers of fire are still writing the story of life. The ocean is not merely water. It is memory, the living bloodstream of the planet. Just as the ocean circulates through the crust, the core of the Earth churns in molten motion, generating something invisible yet vital: the magnetic field. This field surrounds the planet like a protective shell, deflecting the solar wind and cosmic radiation that would otherwise strip away the atmosphere and scorch the surface. At the center of the Earth lies a sphere of molten iron and nickel, spinning like a dynamo. Its outer layer remains liquid, swirling with currents driven by heat and rotation, while the inner core is solid metal, compressed under unimaginable pressure. The motion between these layers produces electric currents, which in turn create magnetism. It is a continuous feedback loop, a heartbeat of molten metal, pulsing with energy that sustains life on the surface. But this magnetic heartbeat is not constant. Over the long ages of time, the Earth's magnetic poles have reversed, not once or twice, but hundreds of times. Every few 100,000 years, north becomes south and south becomes north. During these reversals, the magnetic field weakens and reshapes itself before strengthening again in the opposite orientation. If you were alive during one of these transitions, your compass would slowly lose its sense of direction, its needle wandering unpredictably. There have been moments in history when a compass would have pointed south, not north. The record of these reversals is written in stone. When molten lava cools, the magnetic minerals within it align with the Earth's magnetic field, freezing its direction like a tiny arrow in time. Layer by layer, these rocks preserve a record of every reversal, a geological diary of the planet's shifting heart. Today, scientists know that the magnetic North Pole is not fixed. It drifts roughly 30 kilometers each year, migrating from the Canadian Arctic towards Siberia. The field itself wobbles and fluctuates, responding to the restless movement of the molten metal below. The magnetic field is not rigid, it is a living force, breathing through the iron heart of the world. When solar wangs strike this invisible shield, the sky responds in color. The aurora, curtains of green and violet light rippling across the poles. These lights are the visible face of the magnetic field, the soft halo of an unseen guardian. They remind us that even what we cannot perceive directly can shape our lives profoundly. The magnetic field also connects to the rhythms of migration and orientation. Birds, whales, and sea turtles sense it through mechanisms still not fully understood. They follow invisible lines of force across oceans and continents, guided by the same field that protects the air they breathe. In a quiet way, we too are attuned to this magnetism. The iron in our blood, the electromagnetic pulses of our hearts and brains, all resonate faintly with the planet's field. When the Earth's magnetism changes, something in us feels it too, though we may not have words for the sensation. To imagine the Earth's magnetic field is to imagine the heartbeat of a living being. It contracts and expands, shifts and stabilizes, weakens and grows strong again. It has its own pulse, measured not in seconds, but in epochs. From the ocean floor to the molten core, from the whisper of chemosynthetic bacteria to the sweep of the aurora, the Earth is one continuous organism. Circulating heat, metal, and breath. The same convection that drives tectonic motion stirs the liquid core. The same magnetic field that shields the atmosphere allows the oceans to exist. The same vents that fostered the first microbes still release the same minerals today. We live within this system, part of its rhythm, not separate from it. When we breathe, when we move, when we stand beneath the stars, we are moving with the planet's unseen currents, the waves of air, fire, and magnetism that have never ceased since the dawn of time. The sea and the core, the ridge and the pole, they are all expressions of the same consciousness, the same enduring equilibrium that makes life possible. The Earth is not a stone floating through emptiness. It is a symphony in motion, fueled by gravity, heat, and somewhere deep below, in darkness we will never see, the iron heart of the planet turns slowly, endlessly, keeping time for everything that lives above it. High above the clouds, the moon drifts in silence, a companion that has circled the Earth for more than 4 billion years. Though it seems small and distant, its influence touches every drop of water and every breath of air. Without it, our world would be unrecognizable. The moon's steady gravity holds the Earth's axial tilt in balance. That tilt, about 23 degrees, creates our seasons and the gentle variations of climate that make life possible. Without the moon's stabilizing pull, the Earth would wobble chaotically. The poles might wander, ice could form where jungles once stood, and the rhythm of life would never settle. The moon is the quiet hand that keeps the planet spin graceful. But its most visible gift is movement. The tides. Every day, the moon's pull lifts the oceans, drawing vast masses of water across the globe in a ceaseless dance of rise and fall. This slow breathing of the sea has sculpted our coastlines, shaped harbors, carved estuaries, and nourished the fertile zones where land meets water. Tides are not merely motion. They are the Earth's oldest heartbeat. Long before creatures walked on land, life evolved in the tidal shallows, worlds that were never fully wet or dry. There, early organisms learned to endure change, to move with the water rather than against it. The rhythm of the tides became the rhythm of adaptation itself. Even now, this ancient pulse guides the migrations of fish, the blooming of plankton, and the cycles of coral spawning. It feeds the wetlands that cleanse our atmosphere and nurtures the mangrove forests that protect coasts from storms. In the pull between moon and earth, life found a rhythm to grow by. At night, when the tide withdraws and the shore gleams under moonlight, you can sense that connection, the same invisible thread that once lifted oceans, now stirs the water in your own body. We are mostly salt and liquid, drawn subtly by the same gravity that moves the sea. To look at the moon is to see your own tides reflected in the sky. Beneath those moonlit waves, the ocean has its architects. The coral reefs, stretching for thousands of kilometers, are the Earth's great living fortresses, cities built by animals, stone by stone, over centuries. Each coral is a tiny creature called a polyp, no larger than a grain of rice. Yet together, they create monumental structures visible from space. Corals draw calcium from seawater, building skeletons that harden into limestone. As generations live and die, their remains stack upon one another, forming reefs that grow upward toward the sunlight. These reefs become living geology, rock that breathes, glows, and feeds. Some coral formations are older than mountains. The Great Barrier Reef began growing more than 20 million years ago, long before humans walked the Earth. When fossils of ancient reefs can be found on mountaintops, evidence that places once under the sea have risen into the sky. The cliffs of the Dolomites, the hills of the American Midwest, many are built from the skeletons of vanished reefs, now turned to stone. To dive among living coral is to witness the planet's heartbeat made visible. Fish weave through crimson and gold branches. Sea fans sway in the current like slow flames. Every color and shape serves a purpose in this underwater city. The corals protect, the algae feed, the currents carry life from one corner of the ocean to another. But these living stones are fragile. They depend on temperature, light, and chemistry, remaining in delicate balance. When the water grows too warm or too acidic, corals lose their color. Their symbiotic algae flee, and the reef turns ghostly white. Even in that fading, though, the story of resilience continues. For corals have survived countless shifts before. They are not mere victims. They are teachers of endurance, sculptors of beauty through slow persistence. To touch a piece of coral limestone on land is to touch the memory of sunlight filtered through ancient seas. What we build our houses and temples from was once alive, glowing in turquoise waters under the same moon that guides today's tides. The story of life is not only about oceans and mountains. It is about connection, the invisible exchange that links distant corners of the world. Even deserts and rainforests, opposites in every way, depend on one another. Every year, winds lift fine mineral dust from the Sahara Desert, the remnants of dried lake beds that once held life, and carry it across the Atlantic Ocean. Billions of tiny particles, rich in iron and phosphorus, travel more than 6,000 kilometers through the sky. When they fall as rain over South America, they feed the Amazon rainforest, replenishing the nutrients that its constant rains wash away. The world's largest desert sustains the world's largest forest. The driest place on Earth gives breath to the wettest. The planet's circulation system works like a living body. One lung exhaling dust, the other inhaling green. In space, it looks like the planet is breathing. golden clouds of dust rising from Africa, drifting west, dissolving into emerald. Without that annual exchange, the Amazon's vast canopy might fade. The balance of oxygen and carbon would shift, and the global climate would change. It is a humbling reminder that nothing exists in isolation. The desert and the forest, the moon and the tide, the coral and the coast, they are all parts of one vast organism. The earth moves materials, light and life as blood moves through a body, endlessly cycling, endlessly renewing. When we stand in one place, we see only a fragment. But the truth of the world is flow. Dust to leaf, salt to bone, gravity to breath. Every gust of wind carries a story that began oceans away. Every wave, every coral stone, every raindrop is part of the same continuous motion. The planet remembering itself. And in that realization, something in us grows quiet, as if recognizing the rhythm. For we too are made of this flow, shaped by moonlight, fed by tides, sustained by the invisible currents that bind all living things together in one gentle, ceaseless dance. If you hold a piece of gold in your hand, you are holding the memory of a star. Every atom of that metal, every glint of silver, platinum, or iridium, was forged not in the earth, but in the collapse of dying suns. In the last moments of a star's life, when gravity and light tear each other apart, temperatures soar high enough to fuse elements heavier than iron. In that furnace of chaos, the universe makes its rarest treasures. When those stars exploded, they scattered their riches across the galaxy. Tiny flecks of stardust, drifting for millions of years until they became part of the cloud that would form our solar system. The Earth was born from that mixture of cosmic ash, but much of its early gold and platinum sank to the molten core during the planet's formation. So where did the metals in our crust come from? The ones we can mine, hold, and wear? The answer arrived from the heavens, quite literally. Billions of years ago, during a period of intense bombardment, meteorites carrying those elements rained upon the young Earth. Each impact delivered microscopic grains of gold and platinum, embedding them into the crust. Every vein of precious metal we extract today is the echo of that celestial downpour, a cosmic inheritance, buried in stone. Even the scars of those ancient impacts remain. Deep beneath continents, geologists have found impact basins, vast circular depressions, long eroded or hidden by sediment. Some are hundreds of kilometers wide, reminders of the violence that shaped our world. These craters are not just relics of destruction. They are cradles of transformation. The shock waves from such impacts melted rock, concentrated metals, and altered the chemistry of entire regions, creating the mineral wealth that later sustained civilizations. And sometimes, impact was destiny itself. Around 66 million years ago, a massive asteroid struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, carving the Chicxulub crater and triggering a chain of events that would end the reign of the dinosaurs. The impact released energy equivalent to billions of nuclear bombs, igniting forests, darkening skies, and altering the climate for centuries. Yet from that ending came new beginnings. the rise of mammals, the slow unfolding of forests, and eventually, the dawning of human consciousness. Creation and destruction are twins in the cosmic story. The same collisions that extinguish species also create continents, oceans, and veins of metal that shine in our hands. Each ring of gold, each spark of platinum, is the cooled residue of an ancient explosion. The universe remembering itself through beauty. Though the great bombardments are long past, the Earth still receives a quiet rain of stars. Every day, roughly 100 tons of cosmic dust drifts into our atmosphere. You cannot see it, but it is there, burning briefly as meteors, or settling invisibly onto rooftops, oceans, and forests. This cosmic rain adds material to the planet grain by grain, atom by atom. Over a year, it amounts to tens of thousands of tons of new matter, iron-rich dust, carbon fragments, silica spheres. Some fall into the deep sea, then settle into sediment. Others become part of soil or ice. The Earth is still growing, still being fed by the cosmos that birthed it. Scientists have found this stardust in Antarctic snow, on high mountain glaciers, even in the filters of observatories. Under microscopes, each grain glitters like a miniature planet. Iridescent, metallic, impossibly perfect. These are not just particles, they are messages from beyond. They tell us that the Earth is not closed or finished, but open, continually exchanging matter with the universe. Every breath you take contains traces of ancient stars. Every stone you touch carries molecules older than the sun. The line between outer space and home is only an illusion. The cosmos is always falling gently upon us, renewing the planet, perhaps our sense of wonder. Now the journey circles back to where it began, to the realization that the Earth is not just a planet of rock and water, but a living being. Its heartbeat is the magnetic field. Its lungs are the forests and seas. Its bloodstream flows through rivers, winds, and molten veins of fire. Geology is not static. It is movement made slow. Mountains rise like deep inhalations. Erosion and tides are their gentle exhale. Through the patient rhythm of uplift and decay, the planet keeps time with the stars. Every fossil, every ripple of sandstone, every coral skeleton is part of this conversation. A record of the Earth, remembering itself. The continents drift like thought. The oceans murmur like memory. Even the hardest stone carries tenderness when you know how to listen. Within its crystalline structure, atoms hum with the same vibration that fills the universe, a silent mantra of existence, repeated for billions of years. To walk barefoot on the ground is to touch a living history. Dust that was once magma, magma that was once meteor, meteor that was once starlight. The Earth is not separate from the cosmos. It is its embodiment. A piece of the universe learning to feel. And so, the story of geology is also a story of consciousness. From stardust came stone. From stone came water. From water came life. And from life came awareness. The ability to look at the sky and recognize our own origins there. We are not guests here. We are the Earth, thinking and dreaming through human form. The minerals in our bones, the salt in our blood, the water in our cells, all mirror the planet's composition. When we love, create, or simply breathe, we continue the same process of renewal that the Earth performs in silence. Tonight, as you rest, remember that every part of you is ancient. The oxygen in your lungs was once part of coral reefs. The calcium in your teeth was once drifting in the primordial sea. The iron in your blood was born in a dying star. You are the universe, remembering itself through a single heartbeat. The planet beneath you is not asleep. It is dreaming. Its core turns. Its oceans breathe. Its continents shift with the patience of eternity. The rocks beneath your home are slowly changing, becoming something new, even as you read these words. So lie back. Feel the pulse of the world beneath your body. The same rhythm that moves tides and mountains moves within you. Every breath is the Earth's breath. Every heartbeat echoes its molten core. Let the thoughts settle like gentle dust. You are not living on the Earth. You are living as the Earth. And now, as night falls and the planet spins softly onward, may you find stillness in its motion. May the heartbeat of stone and star cradle your own. Let the planet lull you to sleep. Good night. Good night.